So I want to welcome everybody to this short teaching on effective mentoring. Many of you guys either have mentorees currently in the program of Teen Challenge in the Women's Home, or you have been mentored yourself while going through the Teen Challenge program. In this teaching, you're going to learn interpersonal skills and communication skills that's going to take your mentoring to the next level by improving your trust with your mentoree, building rapport, and bridging a sense of communication with them. So by the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to analyze what effective mentoring looks like, be able to identify some personal strengths and weaknesses in your mentoring sessions alone, and also learn and create new ways to communicate with your mentoree that is going to take it to the next level and build that trust that we're looking for. But first, we're going to watch a cute video that kind of addresses some of the topics we'll be learning today, and then we'll have a little discussion on it.
Riley can't be done with me.
Hey, it's gonna be okay. We can fix this. We just need to get back to headquarters. Which way to the train station?
I had a whole trip planned for us.
Hey, who's ticklish, huh? Here comes the tickle monster. Hey, Bing Bong, look at this. Oh, here's a fun game. You point to the train station and we all go there. Won't that be fun? Come on, let's go to the train station.
I'm sorry they took your rocket. They took something that you loved. It's gone. Forever.
Sadness. Don't make him feel worse.
Sorry.
It's all I have left of Riley.
I bet you and Riley had great adventures.
Oh, they were wonderful. Once we flew back in time, we had breakfast twice that day.
Sadness.
It sounds amazing. I bet Riley liked it.
Oh, she did. We were best friends.
Yeah.
I'm okay now. Come on. The train station is this way.
Okay, so what did you guys see in that video that stood out to you?
The little blue girl was empathizing with her friend.
Okay.
Well, the other little girl was just, let's go, not really caring, about what was going on with him.
Okay. So why do you guys think that the blue girl, who may at first have seemed that she was sad, the other character was saying, don't make him more sad. Why do you think that actually helped him more?
Because it actually helped him talk about the situation that just happened.
Okay.
Instead of just masking it with other feelings that he wasn't feeling at the time.
Okay, good. So he was able to open up because he felt like she was connecting with him. Okay, good. Why do you think that the first girl was ineffective? Even though she was kind of encouraging him and being positive, and that might be something we naturally want to do instinctively as mentors or leaders in the house, why do you think that was unhelpful?
I think it was unhelpful because he couldn't relate to her at that moment because he was feeling sad, so he couldn't relate to the happiness and the enthusiasm.
Okay, so he was kind of like down here and she was up here. Okay, good. So my next question is, why is mentoring women in addiction, being that we work in the Women's Home at Teen Challenge, most of the women are in recovery, why is this an important thing? Why is this important in general or important to you as leaders?
Well, most of them come in feeling like they have no voice. They've never been heard before, and they've just come with all these underlying emotions or experiences that have never really been dealt with. Mm-hmm. And then when they have someone to show that they care and they want to listen, they are being heard, they more than likely want to talk about it and then deal with it.
Okay. So I'm just writing down because it's important that they show that they care.
Yes.
Okay, good. So going into kind of diving into your personal mentoring sessions that you are having currently with the students, what do you feel like you're doing or not doing, whether it be in what you're saying, whether it be in your behaviors? What do you feel like you're doing when you're having a positive mentoring session, that you're having a good experience, that you feel like it's going in a good direction? What do you feel like is happening in that moment?
I've noticed that when I'm having a really good session, I'm really listening to what they're saying.
Okay.
Not just hearing it, I'm really listening.
Okay.
My body language is speaking, showing them that I'm listening. I'm making eye contact with them.
Okay.
I'm empathizing with them.
Okay.
And I'm also trying to help them look at their situation from a different perspective.
Okay, new perspective.
Mhm. And pointing out the positive of their situation.
Okay, so
That's part of, a different perspective.
right, helping them to see the positive. Good. Okay, so anybody else? What do you guys, if you can think back to maybe a recent, maybe you weren't mentoring, but maybe just talking with the student in the office, that they were going through something, or you were mentoring. When you're having a positive experience, what is happening in that moment for you?
I would say the student is open, like with their feelings,
Okay, so they're being open.
talking more with you,
Okay.
not being silent, not putting up a wall.
Not putting up a wall. Okay, so they're more trusting. So on their part, they're showing more trust, more transparency. Okay, so let's write that down, transparency. Okay, so let's talk about the opposite when you're in a mentoring session and you're feeling like the student is putting up those walls. You're feeling like they're not being honest, not opening up, or you're not connecting with them. What, as a mentor, do you notice anything that you're doing or maybe have done that could have contributed to that?
Maybe like when you feel like you're preaching too much, or you're just
Okay.
pointing out all the wrong in what they're doing without backing it up with something positive.
Okay, pointing out all the wrong. Okay, good. Evelina?
Distractions,
Okay.
not being fully there with them.
Okay.
Telephone distractions.
Okay. So maybe you as a mentor are distracted by what's going on in your life or what's going on around you. You're getting texts, so on and so forth. It kind of hinders that connection with the student. Okay. Okay, Kaylin, what is important for you while you are being mentored or counseled in the program and even as a staff member? What are some characteristics?
I would say just being able to open up about what I'm feeling, regardless of whether or not I feel like I would be judged.
Okay.
Because I feel like sometimes the things that I'm feeling wouldn't make rational sense to another person.
Okay.
And so I think it's just like being able to connect without it making any sense.
Okay, so kind of being like bold and just being open and honest despite even what the counselor, you may think of the counselor at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's move to that article that you were assigned last night to read. And just a quick overview again, that article it discussed various studies on counselor characteristics such as empathy and unconditional positive regard, and how it related to treating people in recovery, treating addictions. So what did you get out of the study as a whole in general? What did you pull from it kind of in general from reading it?
Definitely that you have to be able to empathize with the client in order to be effective.
Okay, so that you have to empathize to be effective in your session. And it actually, there's a correlation in how they will do in their recovery outside of even maybe Teen Challenge. So the implications of having empathy is great, according to the study. So from this study, what was considered to make counseling effective versus ineffective? So what were effective characteristics of a counselor versus ineffective characteristics or techniques?
An effective counselor had accurate empathy. They were
Okay.
able to listen and repeat back what they've heard.
Okay.
So that the mentee was able to realize that they understood what
Okay.
they were saying.
Excellent. And what was the ineffective traits?
It was confrontational. I
Mm-hmm.
think there was also fear of judgment.
Okay.
And I think they just put up their walls. There was a lot of resistance.
Okay. Excellent. And so this is for a question for all of you guys. Why do you think the counselors that were empathic versus the ones that were confrontational, just in your experience at Teen Challenge and kind of through your own process, why do you think this one was effective over the confrontational piece? And that's a question for everyone. Anyone can chime in.
I feel like because if it's confrontational, then they put on their guard, they're on the defense, you know? So they're less likely to open up because they feel like they need to protect themselves.
Excellent. What do you think happens to their trust level with you as a leader if you're coming at them, you know, like you guys said, pointing out all the wrong, coming at confrontational, coming maybe from a harsh stance? What do you think happens to their trust level with you that could maybe even transcend to other leadership, possibly, or Teen Challenge as a whole? Desiree?
I think that it makes them not trust you because it just makes them feel like you're not even listening, you're not on their level, and that you don't even understand them. So why should I answer, you know, your question or if you're not going to respect what I have to say or listen to me or make me feel uncomfortable, you know?
Okay, excellent. So if you don't feel respected, it's harder for you to respect them and hear maybe what they're trying to show you or teach you. Okay, good. So I want to move on to a study that revealed this graph that was on the client actually rated the counselor characteristics, and then at the same time the client was rated on their treatment outcomes and their drinking outcomes, so their relapse rates. So according to this chart and looking at it and reviewing it, looking at the different bars and colors, what did you get out of this study and out of this graph?
I found that the higher the empathy the counselor gave to their clients, the lower the relapse rate.
Okay.
And
Wow.
and empathy is the ability to experience feelings of another person.
Okay. Excellent.
So,
So the higher the empathy in this study, the lower the relapse rates. So what implications does that mean for you working at Teen Challenge and for the women in the program? And that's a question for everyone.
Like the more you're involved with them, the more that you show that you care
Mm-hmm.
and speak life to them, it's less them wanting to relapse and getting high.
Excellent. Excellent. Exactly. So again, and even in this study, the control group, they both received a therapy called cognitive behavioral therapy, which is an evidence-based, very effective type of therapy. So they both received that, but these counselors were rated higher. They had better treatment outcomes. So despite them both, or the different populations receiving this awesome therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, it really was the person of the counselor and their characteristics of empathy, and we'll learn about unconditional positive regard, that made all the difference in their drinking outcomes. That's huge. That's huge for us and how we approach our mentorees, how we approach students in the program, and realizing that how we treat them really does make a difference. Really does. It's not a cause and effect, but there's a correlation there. And I think it's important that we get a grasp of what we're learning here. Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. I'm just going to touch on a couple definitions of terms that are kind of related to empathy and what we're learning here. So can I have someone read the definition of trust?
Assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something.
Okay, great. And then can I have somebody read on rapport?
A friendly, harmonious relationship, especially a relationship characterized by agreement, mutual understanding, or empathy that makes communication possible or easy.
Okay, excellent. So trust and rapport is kind of the direction we want to move in with the students and with our mentorees. We want to build trust and rapport. And the way we do that is through a couple different things I'm going to show you. One being unconditional positive regard. This was a term defined by Carl Rogers, who is a therapist. And basically, unconditional positive regard is having a genuine care for the person. It's non-possessive in nature, so it's not selfish. It's not about you. It's always about the student. And you're coming from that non-confrontational, non-judgmental stance. So when we come to our mentoring session or even correcting the students with this unconditional positive regard rather than a judgmental place, we can build trust and rapport with them. Why? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that this equals trust and rapport?
Well, like Kaylin said, when she was being mentored, she was coming from a place where she knew that she wasn't going to be judged.
Okay.
So reassuring and giving that genuine attention and care, saying, don't worry about what you feel or any of this because you're not going to be judged by it.
Right. Excellent. So my next question is, how does this concept by Carl Rogers, unconditional positive regard, relate to biblical or Christ-like principles?
It shows that you walk out your walk,
Mm-hmm.
and so that they can do the same too.
Okay.
In a way, you kind of give them a model of how they can be.
Excellent. So you're kind of like the example, that Christ-like example that really we're trying to teach the students here in the ministry. You know, we are a discipleship program. We are treating addiction, but we're also trying to teach those Christ-like characteristics. So if you can be the example and be the role model, they're more likely to trust you and to walk that out themselves. Excellent. So our last term we'll talk about, which is kind of the main term in this teaching, is empathy. So this is defined as the primary intent is to understand the person. It's a deep subjective understanding. So it's that deep connection, that genuine connection of understanding the student. It is not feeling sorry for the student, okay? We are not necessarily sympathizing. We're not feeling sorry for them. We're not losing our identity in them or their situation. It's important to keep your identity, keep your separateness, but you're communicating to them, I understand what you're going through. I care what you're going through. You're doing this verbally. You're doing it through your body language. And lastly, it doesn't try to alleviate the distress, but it expresses the active listening and understanding. And it makes all the difference. So where do we go from here? How do we tie all these concepts, building trust and rapport, showing that unconditional positive regard, showing that empathy with the students in the program in our mentoring sessions? And so there's a very simple way to do this. We're going to break this down in a very simple way that you can use really for the rest of your life. You can use this in your mentoring sessions. It's going to have a huge impact on the students, and you can use this in your relationship with others, among each other, and it really doesn't end. So this is the part where we're going to use that fill in the blank sheet. You can just follow along. Okay. So the term to show empathy in mentoring or counseling, is a way of active listening. It's called reflective listening. Okay, it's broken down into 2 clusters. Okay, 2 clusters. You have your attending skills and your reflective skills. Okay, so we're going to go over both of those. Okay, so attending skills are the skills of non-verbally, so it's nonverbal, communicating that you are empathetic with the other. This involves elements of your physical body, your physiology. It's your eyes, it's your posture, it's your space. You're trying to communicate with the student that there's rapport between you and the other. You're showing them that you're with them and that you care, basically, through your body language. Okay? The second cluster is reflective skills, okay? And this is the skills of reflecting or expressing to the other the essence of the content and feelings that you hear, as well as summarizing it into larger segments. And we'll go into that more in just a minute. So again, attending skills is the physical and psychological attention. Attending skills is that nonverbal, physical and psychological attention you're giving the other person and that you're communicating to. Effective attending conveys nonverbally you're paying attention to them, that you're with them. In our culture, effective physical attending includes facing the person you're speaking to, good eye contact, avoiding distractions, maintaining an interested silence, and arranging to have an appropriate environment to meet with them. So the first attending skill that we'll talk about is eye contact. This is the main way that you're indicating interest to the person, right? Showing them, I'm with you, you're listening to them, you're looking at them. Your eyes are one of the key modes of communication. And another element of contact is the space, is your space with the person. You don't want to be too close, you don't want to be too far away, you don't want to be like necessarily facing this way, you want to be kind of facing each other at a comfortable place. The second one is gestures. A great deal is communicated by your movements. If you become fidgety, drum your fingers, cross your arms, or sneak glances, what is that showing the student? If you're distracted by your phone, or if you have your arms crossed, or if you are fidgety, what kind of message is that conveying in your session?
Having a hard time focusing.
Having a hard time focusing? What's that?
Not interested.
Not interested? Good. And how do you think that would make the student feel?
Like she didn't matter.
Like she didn't matter?
That you don't care.
That you don't care? Good. What were you going to say, Caitlin?
Like they're not heard.
That they're not heard? Okay, good. So this is something that you have to like actively and purposely do, you know, with the eye contact and then with your physical gestures. Purposefully, you know, if you find yourself crossing your arms, okay, now let's find ourselves uncrossing our arms. If somebody's texting you, turn your phone off, put it behind you. It's a purposeful thing that you have to do to show that you care. And even saying, you know, I'm sorry, I apologize, didn't turn my phone off, lets them know you're communicating that environment. It's the setting that should support communication, okay? The living room, I think, is great, as long as there's not a lot of activity going on. And I know it can be hard because we have a very busy home. So if you use the living room, use it during a study hall time where there's not a lot of activity. You know, you don't want to be using the living room for mentoring when they're calling the ministries to go to work and whatnot. So just being mindful, you know, just being mindful of where you are, where you're meeting with the person the best that you can with what we have. Last but not least is interested silence. This is a period of active, attentive silence that serves as a gentle nudge to move your mentoree deeper into the conversation, deeper into experiencing their feelings, explore their feelings. Okay, silence is a great technique in situations like they lost a loved one. They're sharing something super deep and personal with you. I remember one client opened up about some trauma they experienced, and we just kind of like sat there in the silence and just processed the breakthrough that they're having just by talking about it, period. So don't always be afraid of the silence, especially if you're talking about heavy issues or if the mentee is talking about heavy issues and opening up. It's okay to be there for a minute. Let them process it. Let them go deeper. Sometimes when they're really angry too, that's a good time to just to let that quiet time have its place. Okay, so now we are moving to, that's the attending skills. Those are the nonverbals, communication in your session. Now we're going to talk about reflective statements. So these are things that you say. This is a kind of checking out process that you'll have with your mentee in session. And this is why you're doing Dr. Anna's mentoring maps. Okay, so we're going to use these attending skills and these reflecting skills. It's why you're doing the maps that she created. And in this, you're responding to your mentee, the essence of what they're speaking to you, whether it's content or feeling. So the first type of statement we talk about is acknowledgement responses. So these are brief 1 to 3 word nonverbal or statement gestures like I'm with you, or okay, or go on, yeah, sure. There's just those 1 word, 2 word nudges like, okay, nodding, you're hearing them, keep talking, and I'm with you. Next, you have reflecting feelings, which is listening accurately to the person, reflecting the feeling back to them. Some examples of this would look like they shared their experience with you, what they're going through, and you can respond like, well, maybe they sound frustrated. You sound frustrated, or you look overwhelmed, or you look upset, or you seem to be anxious, and you're doing this more in your own words than just repeating exactly what they just said to you. Like if they say, I'm feeling overwhelmed, you can say, you must be feeling anxious. You don't want to repeat exactly what they said back to you, but maybe in another word. Again, you're letting them know that you're hearing them. You just heard what they said. You're repeating it back to them. It makes all the difference. The third one is reflecting meanings. This is feelings and content. So an example of this would be you feel, for example, frustrated because content would be maybe no one's listening to you. So whatever it is for them in that moment, use the feeling word and then what is maybe causing it or what's going on in their circumstance. And then the last one I want to talk about before we get to another video is summarizing. Summarizing is great. So this is going to be like 2 to 3 sentences in your own words. Again, you're summarizing everything that the student just shared with you. Okay. So this is going to be like the end of your map session. You want to summarize it and then pray out. Or it could be the beginning of your map session. You might summarize what the previous session was like, and now you're moving into a new. Last week, you were going through this, and this. Summarize it. How are you feeling this week? So now we jump into this week, and then the new map. The other time you might want to summarize is maybe if you want to transition into a new topic. Maybe you're in the middle of your session and it's time to kind of shift the focus into a new direction. Or maybe, okay, so now we're done talking about how your week was, let's get into the map. Summarize in 2 to 3 sentences what they just shared with you, that you heard them, that you got what they're going through. Now let's move into the map. So summarizing is a great technique. Okay. So we're going to watch a video just so you get a visual of how to use reflective statements, and then we're going to pair up.
Welcome to How to Make a Reflective Statement. I'm Eleanor Shakiba, author of Difficult People Made Easy. If you want to show you're listening, then you need to master reflective statements. Reflective statements are summarising statements that show that you've understood what someone has said. There are 3 types of content you can feed back using reflective statements. The first content type is thoughts. When someone tells you their opinion, You reflect back their thoughts using the formula, you think, because. For example,
Angela's going to need some backup over the weekend. We've had twice as many inquiries this week as we had last year.
so you think we need more staff on this weekend because we've had so many inquiries.
Yes.
The second content type is feelings. When someone seems emotional, you reflect back their feelings using the formula, you feel, because. For example,
I can't believe Angela didn't invite me to join the service review working group after all the work I've done with the service team this year.
so you're feeling really upset because Angela didn't invite you to join the group.
Yes, I'm really disappointed.
Okay, let's talk about that. The third content type is facts. When someone tells you a lot of information, you reflect back the key facts using the formula, you're saying. For example,
The signature project is on hold because of the rain that they've been having in Melbourne recently. Apparently, it's the wettest summer they've had in 8 years. So Melinda is transferring to the Sydney team for 3 weeks, and Josh is joining the Brisbane team until the 9th. That leaves Tam and Lisa on site in Melbourne, but they don't have much to work on.
so you're saying 2 people have been relocated and we still need some work for Tam and Lisa.
Yes, how about we get them to work on the client documentation?
That's right. So there you have it. 3 formulas you can use to reflect back thoughts, feelings, and facts.
Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pair up to the person closest to you. Okay. And what I want you to do, we're going to go through the map as if you were doing it with the actual student during your weekly mentoring sessions. And it's a simple one. It's the one on hope. And I want you guys to take turns practicing the reflective statements. So you think or you sound or you feel, kind of just practice that a little bit on each other. So take about 3 minutes and then we'll go from there. Go for it.
So you're telling me that hope is something to you. Right, she already know.
I think it's just something
What is hope for you?
to look forward to.
What is hope for me? Knowing that God's in control.
So what you're saying is, what I'm hearing is, what you're saying is, what it sounds like is that drugs weren't an issue for you. Your issue is your emotions and it's ruining your life, right? I don't have to get it, I don't have to get that piece because my experience was heroin or cocaine and I did bad things and it ruined my life in that sense. I don't have to understand her circumstance. All I'm doing is I'm using my attending skills. I'm showing my eye contact. Our space is in this area, comfortable space. I'm not fidgety, I'm not texting. So I'm showing those nonverbal attending skills. And also, I'm reflecting what she just said back to her in my own words. It doesn't mean I necessarily fully understand what that is like because I didn't necessarily go through what she went through. But just by me verbally reflecting the statements, that empathy is produced and she can feel that from you. Okay, so now that we learned about attending skills, we learned about reflecting skills, we read that article and kind of evaluated and analyzed what's important in a mentor, a counselor, or a therapist. And we also practiced creating our own reflective statements to produce that empathy in your mentoring relationship. All in all, what are you guys taking from this lesson that you're going to begin to practice in your mentoring sessions or with the women in the program?
I like the summarizing, like what was last week.
Okay.
So it's kind of like I didn't forget,
Mhm.
what you went through last week, and to see, I want to know where the progress that you feel like you've made this week.
Okay, good.
So I like that.
So you're going to implement the summarizing.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. What else? What else did you guys get as a whole? What are you guys taking away from the teaching?
You have to see eye to eye with them. Also be involved.
Okay.
Show that you care.
Okay.
Just be on their level, like when they're trying to explain
Okay.
to you their feelings. You know.
Excellent. So not try to come at them from up here, but come at them from here where they are, showing that unconditional positive regard, which is Christ-like in nature, and again, to build that trust. Excellent. Okay, well, thank you guys for your time, and we'll end here. God bless you.